Hi everyone. It's as Jay mentioned, you know, I've been affiliated with the program from inception many years ago, when Jay was better looking, and so was I. But I mean, as you can see, that was a very long time ago. And it's a great pleasure for me to be back here because I think it's amazing, as Agnes and I were saying, you know, many of you guys were new when you were 16, 17, 18, and to come back now to see you guys as adults and really learning about some of your stories has been phenomenal. So it's really an honor and privilege that I'm able to open the floor today and really be speaking about behavior and attitude along an entrepreneurial journey. And I think much like how this has been planned, this is really the start of an entrepreneurial journey. Right. So what I want to do today is I just want to give you guys a really quick 5-minute update in terms of what I've been doing, and through that hopefully you guys can pull some strings and pull some ideas of some of the attitudes, some of the behaviors that you need to have. I'm going to dive into 4 maybe quick highlights and points that you need to have, and again this stuff is not rocket science to you, and then we'll open the floor to some questions. Okay, so everyone's cool with that? Cool. So for those of you guys that don't remember me or don't know me, I started the program with Jay, I think it was back in 2005, 2006, and at that stage, I was helping with the Saturday sessions. But even before that, my personal entrepreneurial journey started when I was an engineer. So I'm an engineer by qualification. I did my electrical engineering undergrad. And part of that was in my final year of engineering, the opportunity was for me to say, let's come up with a product, okay, to help partially sighted kids, and then let's try to commercialize this product. And through that started this whole journey about understanding about business and why there's this allure, this draw to move from the sciences, move from the technical world towards the business world. And for me, it was really all about solutions, but not just any kind of solutions, a useful solution. In the sciences, in engineering, normally there's one problem and there's one solution. In business, there's multiple solutions. Some are good, some are better. Right? And I think that's the first thing that we have to look at, is we're always going to be looking at the different options, be opportunity obsessed. So I did that. I went my merry way. I started my business to try to commercialize a product that unfortunately didn't work, even though we had raised some angel investing. I then started my second company after I finished up my master's in engineering. I then went and I worked at Deloitte. And like a lot of you guys, I did some time over there. And hopefully, like you guys, at some stage, if not already, I grew very tired of the corporate world. I then moved out and I went and I came back to Wits, my alma mater. And I said, where's the best place for me to be to learn about business? And it was pretty simple. It was with other businesses. So I started the Innovation Entrepreneurship Office at Wits, and I really try to help young people, primarily in the sciences and engineering, commercialize their business. And again, it's this whole question of opportunity. Where can I be exposed to a lot of businesses? Where can I learn a lot about business? And where can I teach myself? Did that for a couple of years, met up with the foundation, and we started the curriculum. At the same time, I brought on some other clients. I had the banks on my books. I did some stuff for the South African Department of Trade and Industry and Department of Science and Technology. Finished that up, and that's probably where a lot of you guys remember my involvement. Subject to that, I went along to Babson College in the US, and that was a great opportunity as well. A lot of you guys know about Babson, top-ranked entrepreneurial college in the world, some would say, 16 years in a row by Years, Times, and News. And when I went there, it was a fascinating time. I left here on the 8th of August, 2008. And I don't know how many of you guys remember what happened a month later. Anyone? Boom, things broke, right? And it was a really tough time to be. And what's important about that part of the story is the same attitudes and behaviors to start a business are the same attitudes and behaviors that you need to have as an individual, right? Jay mentioned very correctly that you need to be accustomed to failure. You need to be not only comfortable with it, but in some respects you need to be good at it, right? I'm really good at failing. Exceptionally good at failing. Not so much so because of the fact that I fail, but because you get up pretty damn quickly and you can carry on. What happened through this experience was I went to the US. I had enough cash saved up to be able to pay for one semester, i.e. 1 6-month slot out of 4 6-month slots. And I had no more money. That was it. Because the plan was pretty simple. 6 months, I'd get a bank loan for the next 6 months. I'd do an internship between first year, second year, make a lot of money and pay off your second year, and carry on. And that was the tried and tested model. That was what everyone was doing. To give an idea in terms of the quantum of money that guys were making, folks in real estate were pulling in over a summer holiday, 10 weeks in the US, these guys were pulling in $20,000 US. Some guys in finance were pulling in $30,000, $40,000 US. It was an easy thing to do. I was there, everything crashed. The bank said, first thing we're going to do, pull out our funding for our high risk guys. High risk were foreign students. So I'm caught here with no money. Much like business, sometimes your funding goes. What do? Well, you keep your chin up, but more importantly, you find other ways to carry on. Through a number of different things, I managed to pull together, managed to finish my financing, I managed to get some cash, and I managed to finish up my MBA. But through that, and this is another learning, is all about networking. Networking. Learning who are the people that are going to have an influence in your life, directly or indirectly, business or personal. In the US, I was fortunate enough to be mates with a number of different people. One is probably the most famous guy, or at least his lineage is the most famous. He's the grandson of Hewlett in Hewlett-Packard. Right? He was a guy that helped me with my finances. There's another guy that I know that his parents own the largest electronics fabrication plant in the Philippines. Right? Good opportunity. Finished all those things up. I then said, okay, cool. What is the opportunity? What am I looking at right now? And here's a little tip, and here's something that I learned along the way, and this is one of the points that I want to emphasize to you guys. Where do you find opportunities? What is the behavior? What is the attitude you need to have? Well, it's actually all around you. Look at the news. Look at the current trends. Look what's happening right now in the world. Where are there discontinuities? Where are things breaking? Where are things fraying? There's a saying that I was told at university is that innovation occurs at the fringes, right? It happens in the peripheral. It's stuff that you don't always see. That's behavior, that's an attitude that you can actually cultivate. Look at that. Look at any business that has come and gone. Look at the Kodaks of this world. Some would say you look at the BlackBerries of this world. A lot of those competitors were not in the traditional space, right? You've got to be able to understand and see where things are happening. What does that mean? Well, for argument's sake, right now in South Africa, what's happening right now with strikes, with mines, right? Some people would say, that's horrible, that's a terrible thing, and it is a horrible, terrible thing. But is there an opportunity over there? Is there opportunity to do some kind of innovation around new kinds of compensation models, right? Is it really the best way to say you work 40 hours a week and we're going to pay you a salary? Is there some kind of equity thing in there? I don't know. Is there some other thing to say, listen, what we're going to do is this. You guys can start your own little co-op, and for every, I don't know, 100 kilograms of gold or whatever you get out, we'll give you 100 grams. I don't know. Maybe there's an opportunity. But if you are tuned into what's happening to the marketplace, you can find these little things. And Paul's going to touch on this really soon after me. If your customers really say there's a problem, there's a huge opportunity. But you need to be on top of that ball. Right? So I finished up my MBA, went along, and I said, cool, what is the opportunity space right now? And I had the opportunity to do some other cool things. But I decided, well, clean tech is a burgeoning space to be in. So clean tech, for those of you guys that may not be familiar with it, isn't just about solar, isn't just about wind, isn't about that kind of stuff. It's the energy stuff that's also associated with wave propagations, about food security, it's about water cleanliness, all that kind of stuff, right? And I said, well, where's the opportunity sit? Well, not only is it where the opportunity sits, but where does my expertise sit? And remember this as you go along. All of you guys, as was mentioned before, some of you guys are at auditing firms, some of you consulting firms, some of you guys got your own business. If you can marry your experience and your passion, you've got a very good place. And note, I didn't say payment. I didn't say where you can get paid the most, which is unfortunate because I think that's where some of you guys are right now. But that's okay. I think time will come, and you guys will get bored of that, and you'll move out of that. So I said, I'm very well versed in the university space, having worked with fellows, having worked at the universities that I've been at. Where else can I do some stuff? Well, it's pretty simple. How about if we innovate and we come up with a new business model that integrates universities, okay, this grassroots level and swell of young people that want to do cool things, that want to do some kind of education stuff, and how do we get them into clean tech? It's pretty simple. So, like all things, I didn't always try to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes it's okay to go out there and take best practices. I'm not saying you need to be governed by what's done, but have a look. It's called best practice for a reason, right? It's been done before. I'm not saying that's the best way of doing it. I'm saying there's the essence of something there. But it's like all things in life. Unless you know the rules of the game, you can't break them. Right? So understand what everyone else is doing. Once you know that, innovate around that, but take that as your core. Okay? So I pretty much went across, said, who's doing what in the clean tech space? What are these guys doing? What are they doing at a university level, and how do we scale this? And essentially, we grow a program that was initially, there was nothing there, so it was a complete startup, and we grew within 6 months to be on 6 universities in the US, including the likes of Yale and GW, George Washington. Was about to launch at 2 universities at Tsinghua University, had requests all the way from Dublin all the way through to Rio. So it was a huge, huge opportunity, all in 6 months. What was it? Well, it was pretty simple. It was creating a network of young people interested in clean tech and saying, how can we take guys that are doing engineering at USC, okay, University of Southern California, how do you link them with business people at Brigham Young and potentially some kind of engineering, some kind of tech in Beijing? That was what it was. Not revolutionary, not amazing, but maybe innovative in its application. Okay? Again, all about attitude, all about behavior, seeing where the gaps are on the market and how do we apply to that. Looking at things the same way, but looking at them differently. Okay? And it was amazing. And again, to come back to the point that was made before, failure sometimes isn't of your own doing. In fact, many times it's not. Sometimes you may say that you're a victim of circumstance. I don't believe in that mentality. I don't believe in two things in life. Primarily, actually, there's a lot of things I don't believe in life. But two big things that I believe in is this whole thing of being a victim, right? And this other thing of entitlement. And I think for you guys as young people, and dare I say it, as young, smart people, the latter is the most dangerous one for you all. Specifically as young, smart people, the belief is that I'm smart, I'm good, I'm entitled to certain things. I'm entitled to a good job, I'm entitled to a good paycheck, I'm entitled to a good position. I hate to tell you this, folks, you're entitled to nothing. There's no entitlement whatsoever. It's all about working hard and achieving stuff. And I'll touch on achieving stuff pretty soon. Right? And it was unfortunate because at that stage, not only did I launch almost at 9 universities, I had 3 people, 3 interns about to hire my first full-time employee, raised R1.5 million, profiled the Clinton Global Initiative, and did some stuff for TEDx, all within a period of 6 months. The US government came on board and they pretty much said, listen, Craig, we're not going to give you a visa. Why? Because that's just the way that our system is geared. We don't recognize that level of entrepreneurship, specifically at the level and the expertise that you want to come in. And my argument was, it's a startup, it's a non-profit, and the argument was, we're the US, sorry for you. And again, so that's a point of failure. But it's a point of failure that opens many doors. I then came back to South Africa and I started at Google South Africa, which is where I am right now. To tie this really quickly up, I'll give you a quick update in terms of what I'm doing, then I'm going to reinforce some of the points I said, and we'll talk a little bit more about them. I started at Google South Africa in July of last year. So I've been there for just over 15 months right now. The first project that I had was to come in and help small businesses get online. Right? As you guys know, having a website is vitally important for any business. You have more than 8 hours operating time a day, you have more than 40 hours a week, more than 5 days a week, etc., 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 etc. But there's significant problems with a small business getting online. Right? Here's the opportunity. How do we execute upon it? And I'm going to start moving my discussion around opportunity towards execution, because execution is probably more important than opportunity identification as an entrepreneur. Right? And we spoke about this a lot when I was helping you guys along through the program. It's not just about, here's a cool opportunity, here's a cool thing to do, look at these guys doing cool stuff. If you don't do it, you're not in it, right? What's the saying? You miss 100% of all goals, all attempts at goal you don't take, or something like that, right? And it's vitally important to remember that. So we said, what's the opportunity over here? Well, small businesses are not online. Why are they not online? Because of a number of factors. One, it's expensive, it's complicated, it's difficult to update, and the perception was it's just for the big guys. So, well, how do we create a product that can take this away? So we created that product, we launched it, and 8 months later, we've had close to 30,000 businesses online. So if you work that number out, it's 1 every 10 minutes. And it's all about execution. It's all about doing the right things at the right time, planning your thing out, right? Did that, and now I'm doing some of the cool stuff, primarily around small businesses. So I spent a lot of time talking about myself. I'm probably got another 5 minutes or so. I'm going to reinforce some of these points, and then we're just going to open some questions. So I've touched a lot on opportunity obsessed. It's about finding the opportunities in the market, saying, where are things going? Where can I see trends are going? Where are people unhappy with current business models, right? We've touched on one already. We touched on one in terms of financial compensation. That's one. What about leadership? We all know there's a problem with leadership. Who's doing anything about it? But is that really a problem? One of the papers that I wrote when I was doing my MBA was a concept of countries without borders. And we see it now in the social world, right? Facebook just passed 1 billion users. Is there something that's happening? Is there some kind of undercurrent that's going on where countries are no longer bounded by physical borders, where there's an association by who you know, what you're interested in? Who cares if I live 10 kilometers down the road, if I'm in the same country as you? Is there some kind of leadership thing going over here? Well, potentially. Look at the Arab Spring. Look at what's been happening over there. Look at how their protests were driven by social media and what they've done, right? Are there some opportunities here for business? I don't know. You guys will know. You're more acquainted with this than some of us older folks in the room. The other one I touched on is this, is action-orientated. You've got to be able to do stuff. A lot of people say things. A lot of people say, we can do this for you. We're going to do that for you. We promise this. Not many people deliver, right? And I would much rather have someone who can deliver something to me that's a hard worker, that'll put in the hours, than someone that's absolutely brilliant and comes up with new business ideas, Right? It's all about the execution, all about the execution. Even where you guys are right now, I don't know how many of you guys have started a business already. Start something on the side. It could be the concept of entrepreneurship at your company, at your place right now. Is there something you can do? Something simple. If you're at a big corporate, is there a newsletter that goes out? I don't know. Is there a newsletter that goes out for Africa to your global partners? Is there something that you can do intern to the company to say, I'm interested in this area, let me start something? It's all about execution, execution, execution. Networking I touched on before. Don't ever, ever, ever burn a bridge. Right? No matter how mean your boss is to you, no matter how bad people are to you, no matter how people treat you, never, ever burn a bridge. And that's a behavior that you have to actually learn and cultivate time and time and time again. It's easier to turn your back on someone and say, I'm not interested in you, I'm not interested in that. And I'm not saying that you have to build that relationship because you're gonna capitalize on that later. I'm just saying it's pure plain goodness. That's just the right thing to do. Someone does something wrong, cool, right? There's a story in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, about a gangster. And on his deathbed, the guys bash into his hotel room, they shoot him, they bash everything down, they shoot everything down. And they come to this guy and he's bleeding and he says, listen, I've done nothing wrong my entire life. And that's true. Nobody fundamentally believes that they actually do anything wrong. So why should you? Okay? Network the heck out of stuff. Find opportunities, speak to people. And then the last one is, again, to touch on the same thing that Jay said, but a slight different variation. It's not about the failing, it's about the getting up. It's about the getting up pretty damn quickly, right? Things are going to happen to you. There are not many, if any, entrepreneurs that I can think about that have plain sailing. They come up with a business plan, they find the right partner straight away, they execute, they get the money straight away. It doesn't happen, okay? I'm just about finishing Jobs' autobiography. He got kicked out of the company that he started. That's pretty damn bad. The Google boys didn't finish up the PhDs. They got turned down. They wanted to sell out the initial Google to a search engine competitor in the early days. They got turned down, right? Same thing goes on and on and on and on. It's not about the failing. It's about the getting up, and it's about learning pretty damn quickly what you've done wrong. Okay, so giving you guys a bit of an overview in terms of where I am, what's been going on with myself. I've given you guys some ideas, 4 major attitudes to cultivate. This again is not rocket science. You guys know this. This is built into your DNA fundamentally. The question is not so much what can you cultivate, but what can you freshen up, what can you polish up, what can you do better. And hopefully some of these ideas lead into the rest of the sessions that you guys are going to be having, not just today, but for the rest of your entrepreneurial journey. And there's one final point that I'm going to leave you with before I open the floor to questions, is there's no rush. There is no rush to start a business. And this is vitally, vitally important to you guys. You're all A-type. You're incredibly passionate. You're incredibly driven. I've got to start a business today. I've got to raise money today. There's an opportunity today. No, you don't. I'm telling you this right now, and this may be contrary to some of the things you've heard before. You don't have to start a business today. There is no rush. There's some research study that's been done that says over the lifetime, people will be exposed to at least 3 or 4 life-changing opportunities. At this point in time where a lot of you guys are right now, it's all about learning. It's all about understanding things. One of the greatest learnings I've ever had is make mistakes on other people's money. Great, great thing to do. Especially if you guys are a corporate, make a crap load of mistakes. Trust me, it's going to be a lot cheaper for you now.